Y'all know what time it is. It's Queen Talk, not small talk. Okay, we got to get into these religious men because I feel a shift. I feel a shift coming on. Also, I know I look crazy. It's been a long day. It's been a super long day. But I really do feel a shift coming. I feel like the shift is already here when it comes to men running, racing, sprinting to religion. And religion is, first of all, it's made up. All right. It's not real. At the end of the day, it's a book. All right. It's a book that was written. Um, you can use your own discretion when it comes to that. But oh, you all are so nice. You all are so sweet. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's my hair. I'm a wild child. Um, but religion, honestly, okay, sorry. Religion is just honestly an excuse for men to essentially have you in a state of oppression and really just a hall pass, a hall pass to do whatever it is that they want, and because due to religion you should just be okay with it. It should just be you should just be okay with it. So let's look into what these pastors are preaching to the congregation. Okay, what are they telling people? Because these pastors are getting out of fucking control. These pastors are out here, it's getting bad.
When a man cheats, ask yourself, Father, in everything that you have written concerning me, is there a cheating man? And the Lord will say no. We say, okay, you man, you are a faithful man. Some of you need to just be prophetic. You know you love to discuss situations a lot. How I wish the women listening to me, you are faced with infidelity. I pray that you see beyond it. You begin to look at your man and say, you will stop cheating. I don't
Like, do you know how many women do that on the daily and how depressed they are and how miserable they are? All because the Bible, all because they're tethered to religion in the Bible and they're like very afraid to get divorced because that's the thing. This is why I really have a strong opinion when it comes to religion because religious people use shaming tactics and essentially the way that religious people act, they treat it like a cult. So essentially when you get married and you become of a congregation, a part of a congregation, you go to the same church, you know you're very active in the church, you become an usher and yada yada yada, and you're married, that becomes a part of your identity, and like that is essentially a shield that you wear to gain acceptance in the church. And then if you no longer wear your marriage cape, your godly woman cape, well then the congregation is going to pretty much shame you and shun you, and then you lose community. So essentially, that is what they do to women to keep women attached to men that are treating them very poorly. So that way women are too afraid to just leave and get divorced.
see you as a cheater. I don't see you as an abusive man. I see you as a faithful man. You speak it prophetically. You see beyond that broken relationship and you say, Lord, as you leave, one of these days I'll see him come back home to only me. You walk with it every day. He comes back late, you say, you are welcome, my faithful husband. You see your stubborn wife and you say, I love you, my very submitted
It's not the
wife.
same thing.
You will hear me. You will listen to me. But you see, most of us have allowed
The men are probably in the crowd like, mm-hmm, yes, preach, brother, preach. Yes, yes.
what we are going through right now to override what we should see happening in the future. Let me tell you, affairs don't always last for long. And I see when women are calling me, they say, Apostle, my husband is a cheater. So why do you expect a cheater to stop cheating? Even you have allowed the situation to decide your confession, not knowing what you say, you bring to pass. The Bible says you shall decree a thing and it shall be what? Established. Learn to declare what you want to see. Hold his hand and say, my husband, you are the richest man alive.
Y'all, he wants you to be Stevie Wonder. He wants you to be Ray Charles to the bullshit.
My husband, you are the most faithful man I know. Even when you saw a bad message, even when he slept over and never came back, you know that you know it has to end well. I know so many people have told you it will end in tears. It is theirs which will end in tears, not yours.
Y'all, and he was serious too. He's over here preaching. He really wants y'all to be Ray Charles to the bullshit. Like, cheating, I don't see it. Abuse, I don't see it. I don't feel it. It doesn't exist. It's make believe. It's not really real. I cannot believe that there are still women out here that are looking for a God-fearing man, that are asking men if they believe in Jesus. We have seen it on the Pop the Balloon episodes, actually. A lot of these men will ask these women this on the Pop the Balloons. Do you have a relationship with God? Do you go to church regularly? And what a lot of women don't realize is that essentially you asking all of these questions based off of a man's, religion. First of all, you're breaking the spell of blind trust, okay? A lot of women that just automatically deem a man that like goes to church or that is religious or that can like quote scripture and things like that, they automatically trust these men, because I'm going to always tell you, ladies, as women, you like to project your qualities onto men. That is going to be your downfall as a woman, is you projecting your qualities, your beliefs, your good naturedness onto men, thinking that that's what they are going to do. That is not what they are going to do. A man and a woman could both be religious and be religious for very different reasons and use religion for very different reasons. But you might be going to church because you want to help your community. You actually do, believe in the word, and maybe you have overcome trauma, maybe you found yourself through the church. There are a lot of men that are in the church to prey on women, to control women, to be able to feel dominant. And so a lot of women will think like, well, oh, he goes to church, he must be a good man. He reads the scripture, so, he's not going to cheat. He prays and he reads the Bible, he must be very vulnerable. He must be very emotionally safe. Essentially, the whole intention of this live is to expose how religion is used as a costume. Okay. Religion is not it's not a character trait. You know what I'm saying? Men all the time will be like, you women, you brag about your degrees, you brag about your education as if it's a personality trait. And it's like, y'all brag about your fucking religion and how God-fearing you are like it's a personality trait. When women are groomed in religion, essentially religion is grooming women to be people pleasers. You are taught that obedience is holy, that it's a very virtuous thing to be silent, and that, your submission is this holy and godly thing that you should maintain despite how you're being treated. If a man is putting his hands on you, if a man is cheating on you, if he's disrespecting you. And then another thing too with religion, a lot of people that claim to be religious, they pick and choose parts of the Bible that fit with whatever sinning that they want to do. they like to warp the words. They like to pick certain things to pretty much give themselves, a slap on the wrist, and that way they don't have to be held accountable for anything. Like, oh, like if I do something, like, if I cheat or if I do something wrong, oh well, then I could just repent. I'll just ask God for forgiveness. It's really not that big of a deal. It's fine. And so this is what I find very interesting about people, especially men who are religious. Thank you, Rocket P, for the super chat. I appreciate you. Thank you. One thing is that a lot of religious men, so they will shun you. They will talk shit about you because, like, how did you not know that this man was an abuser? How did you not know that this man was like a rapist, or like things like that? But then the whole entire tactics of the Bible and religion is essentially just to shame you. It's used to shame you to not trust your own intuition. And so then you're sitting here feeling bad because you're like, you'll have cognitive dissonance because a man will be a straight creep and then he'll be a weirdo, and you will try to like reason it in your mind with being like, oh well, he goes to church, so like there's no way that he would like be doing these things. Like there's no way that he would be linked to anything nefarious at all. And another thing with religion teaches you, it does the opposite of teaching you boundaries. Essentially, as a woman, it teaches you to have zero boundaries. Okay. It teaches you how to take pride in your suffering and in your unhappiness. Honestly, I feel as though there's no one more depressed than a man that is religious, because you also have to think of this. Men cling onto religion, and it's like, okay, why do you need a book to teach you what it is, how to be a good human? Why do you need a written book to instruct to you how to be a good person, what to do, what not to do, how to treat other people, what crimes not to commit? The fact that men have to write a book to tell other men how to be in society, that should tell you everything it is that you need to know about their nature. Men were so crazy and wild buffoons acting in any old kind of way. They literally had to create a thick ass instruction manual for men to tell them essentially how to live, because it was written by the man. No woman is over here having to essentially learn, oh okay, what is it can I do, what is it can I not do, point blank period. They need law and order. Exactly. Most laws, I mean, let's be real, most laws that are created are based off of what men have done. If you compare men and women in their nature and what they're most capable of doing in their nature, most of that is coming from men. Another thing too is that a lot of these religious men, they have a tactic of spiritual abuse. Okay, these men are very, very spiritually abusive. um they will like to use God as a way to enforce control over you, and they will constantly try to guilt you based off of like teachings and practices in the Bible to keep you in order and to keep you in check, right? um yeah, a lot of religion and how men are using it is shaming is always their number one tactic that they're going to use. And then just you as a woman, your makeup, you can't wear red. That's why I'm wearing red. That's why I'm wearing red. But you can't wear makeup. You're not supposed to wear red. You have to dress a certain way. Every single thing that you do as a woman is policed through the Bible. And it's wild to me that so many women take pride in that. that so many women literally are like, oh, like I'm really not so, yes, nails. There's so many things that you just are not allowed to do because a Bible religion told you that you should and should not do it. Religion just tells men to only respect modest women. And then the thing about it is that they're not respecting modest women. Like, there's never ever been a story where I heard a woman say, "Oh yeah, was 100% covered up, and because I was covered up, it saved my life. It prevented me from getting R-worded. It prevented a sexual crime to be used on me." Because at the end of the day, religion is nothing but a book of just blaming women. And the thing about men is that men like to always remember, men's favorite thing to do is to talk in absolutes. You ever see it like what men will post? Well, if you cook and if you clean and if you submit to a man, he's not going to cheat on you. They always try to make it seem as if 1 + 1 is 2. That like if you follow the manual, the man manual, it's like a genie. You know what I mean? Your wish is my command. All you have to do is ask and I will do it. I will do it for you. That's essentially what the Bible is for women. So as long as you dress modest, as long as you don't wear any makeup, as long as you don't draw any attention to yourself, as long as you're very submissive, you are going to have a man that is going to love you and cherish you and be loyal to you. That's not real. That's not reality. That's not the world that we live in. I think the number one thing that women that are trying to vet and thinking that a religious man is a good thing to vet or a type of good man that she should be vetting and dealing with. I think the number one thing that I would want women that think like that to get out of this live stream is that you have to understand that people, especially men are never, ever, ever going to give you the keys, the true keys as to what is going to keep them around. You want to know why? Because there are no keys, okay? There are no methods, there are no steps. There is nothing that you can do to a certain degree to ever have a man not cheat on you, not look at other women, stop watching porn. Men use this as a way to constantly have leverage over you. Okay, this is the reason why they created marriage with the state. It's a part of the state and it's religious. That's the reason why they combined them both, the church and the state, because men understood that if we just rely on marriage for just the state, how are we going to enforce submission from women? How are we going to enforce that women play their role and do whatever it is that they are supposed to do? It would be a lot more freedom in marriage if it was just based off of the state and then the church was not involved. Because really, for you as a woman, it's essentially to harm you and it's for the betterment of the man. This is why men get so mad about the law. Because, see, you don't hear men complaining about religion. You see men flocking to religion. They're complaining about the state. They're complaining about the law because they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to be able to benefit from the church and they want to be able to benefit from the state. They want to be able to benefit from the law. That's why they're like, oh, well, I don't want to get married because I'm not going to give her 50%. But didn't you want the woman to follow all of the things with the church and submit to you and allow you to cheat and allow you to be a terrible person and allow you to disrespect her? What about that? Can she get that? Can she get 50% of that back? Can she undo the bodies that you racked up while you were cheating on her? Can she undo in half the times that you put your hand up to her? So it's like they will get benefits in one way and then still be complaining that they're not able to gain benefits in the other way. this is the reason why you cannot vet men off of religion. You're wasting your time by doing that. Thank you for the super chat. No question. Just wanted to say thank you for educating women. I appreciate you, Sabrina. Thank you so much. Exactly. A good marriage is giving the wife 100%. Completely. What men don't realize is that because men don't value the worth, they don't understand the value that women bring, and how the value that a woman has is something that is not tangible. A lot of men overlook the fact that women are multipliers. Women will give you everything in abundance. And so it's only going to work if the man is like straight up worshiping you. Like, that's what I'm always going to tell you, ladies. It's either the man is worshiping you or nothing. Never settle for less. Never, ever, ever settle for less. He should be kissing the ground you walk on. Okay. He literally should be bowing down to you. He should be making sure that everything in your life is as simple as it can be. Because when a woman should always be resting, a woman should always be in receiving mode. Because when a woman is resting, when a woman is in receiving mode, she is always going to, a man is always going to get a return on his investment when it comes to women. Always. Is every woman going to do it? Of course not. Women aren't a monolith. I can't make a generalized statement, but in the nature of a woman, the pure nature of a woman, she is going to multiply whatever it is that a man gives her. Women don't do well when they are being drained because they have life force energy. We need to be resting to maintain our life force energy. That way we can be able to freely give that in exchange for what the masculine is giving us. And so what happens is that when a lot of women end up with these men that are very, very religious, I feel like you see this in the media. The woman that goes to church, she has like the persona of being like super mom, super wife, you know, she doesn't have like one little piece of grass that's sticking up higher. Her children go to the best schools. Her children are never in any trouble. Her husband is never in any trouble. Everything is always so perfect because the wife is overperforming. She is literally working so hard to the point where, because everything is working so perfect, it's because it's working perfect because of her. And then what happens? Oh, the husband has some type of scandal. The husband's been caught cheating. Something has happened. So now what she has to do is she has to get out of her she has to get into her masculine even more and fix these issues, fix these problems, cover up everything that is going on. Because the thing about it too is that just like men will use religion, it's an external thing. Men are always externally motivated. Men don't have an incentive to work on anything internal. And so essentially what will happen is that the woman will kind of piggyback off of this internalized identity through their external. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh yeah, I'm the first lady of God First Church, and yada yada yada. So now they're wearing all of these hats, and now their identity is crushed because this facade that they put on for other people, with them being holier than thou, and them having this God-fearing man who is just so perfect and who doesn't do anything. Well, now their house of cards has fallen. Now they are pretty much in the predicament where they're like, oh fuck, I have to figure out what I'm going to do next. How am I going to be able to maintain my image, essentially?
feminist women talking about how wonderful their life is because they don't have a husband, they don't have children. So they're showing, oh, today I slept in, I went to the spa, I went to Belize. They just talk about how nice their life is because they don't have the inconvenience of a husband and children. And these are young women who have been perpetually...
I say it all the time. Men do not understand women at all when they say what he just said. Women don't want to sign up for the inconvenience of having a child and being married. Yeah, because that's stupid. If I go grocery shopping, like I just went grocery shopping before I hopped on live. If I went grocery shopping and I got everything that I needed, and then it's time for me to go check out, and then I'm like, okay, let me look at all the lines. How dumb would it be to go in the longest fucking line when self-checkout is empty? It's live. I'm live. We've been on for 25 minutes, but like the chat thing or the timing thing is like weird. So don't mind, but it's live. This is live. But that makes no sense. Men keep trying to frame women as men. They keep trying to push the patriarchy onto women. Taking pride in having your life being hard, that is a patriarchal standard made by men for men. They did not make that standard for women. Patriarchy does not tell women just up front to say, make your life harder. You're more of a woman when you make your life harder. Patriarchy tells men that, not women. And this is why I always say, men are always trying to project their misery onto you. He's miserable. He's married. He's obviously miserable. Marriage is obviously very inconvenient for him. That's the reason why he's telling you and shaming you. How dare you not make your life harder? Because I hate my fucking life. And so because I hate my life and I hate this marriage thing and I hate having kids, because I hate doing this, I need to convince other people to do it too, specifically women. That way they can be miserable like me. No person that had your best interests in heart would ever want you to make a choice and make the choice that would inconvenience you the most. If I'm driving somewhere, you're pretty much telling me I should go the longest route with the most amount of traffic when I easily could take a back road and not have any traffic, get there way quicker, don't have to be using up all my gas. Like, there is no context where that would ever make sense. They're projecting their misery. They want you miserable.
Lied to. And I'm just telling you, if they do a follow-up at 50, they're not going to be happy. They're going to be working late. They're going to be lonely. They're going to have 7 cats and a couple of STDs. And then at Christmas, they're going to be all alone, very sad. And what they're not going to post is, I'm winning.
By now, you're all aware of the loneliness epidemic that's going on with single men. And what I find really interesting is the amount of men that are coming to their aid. And rather than trying to encourage these men to be better catches, to encourage these men to be better partners, they'd rather try to guilt trip and shame women for not choosing them. Whether it's Tyler Perry saying, even if all he could do is pay the light bill, if he loves you, take him.
If you pay attention to men and you pay attention to what they're telling you, I made a video about this on TikTok, pretty much saying that whenever you give a man a chance and he does not 100% fit the bill for you, he is not what you want him to be, you are literally artificially improving his value. You're artificially giving him more value. Men always want you to take a chance on them. This is the reason why he's saying, oh, well, when these women are 50 years old, these women are going to be miserable. They're going to have STDs. They're going to have a ton of cats. Men are not original thinkers. They have been saying the same thing over and over and over for centuries. Spinster, cat lady. They are not original. And it's getting to the point now where it's very redundant, it's very repetitive. And the thing about it is that men don't want to improve. This is the reason why men are never going to sit here and tell other men, this is how you have to improve. This is what you have to do. There was a video that popped up. It was Kitten Heels. It was Kevin Samuels' video. But it was a video where Kevin Samuels was calling out a man. And there were, men pretty much in the comments saying, see, Kevin Samuels was hard on us too. He was hard on us too. And I said, but that content didn't make any money because men don't gravitate towards self-improvement. The female content creators that have a female demographic, a woman demographic, it's usually the top creators are usually always in regards to self-improvement. How can you improve your mind? How can you improve your beauty? How can you improve your finances? How can you get closer to spirituality? Women genuinely are very committed to self-improvement. Men are not. That's the reason why Kevin Samuel said, I would make way more money. I would generate way more views if I just got on here shaming women and talking shit about women. Because he understands the fact men don't care about self-improvement. They don't care about bettering themselves. They want you to accept them with their doo-doo draws. You know what I mean? All of the dust coming off of them. They have lint in their pockets. They have a net worth of $20, living at home, and they just want you to be like, that's great. I will take that. Sounds wonderful.
And now you have this pastor. A pastor sounds like he's listening to these manosphere podcasts. Even the pastor is saying that you're going to die alone. Even the pastor is saying that you might as well get you some cats. You didn't get that out of a Bible, pastor, but you did get it from a podcast. Why not tell these men to be better? Why not tell them to be more emotionally intelligent and to help out around the house and to be caring and thoughtful and loving and to not think that everything revolves around them? As soon as women start decentering men, you start seeing men from the pulpit to the parking lot, sliding down the wall, throwing up and crying and all of that. It's like, they'll do anything but change. They'll do anything but improve. They'll do anything but be a better mate. So now you have this pastor trying to guilt trip and shame women for not choosing these men. There's a reason why they're not getting picked. You tell women to pick better, and when we're not picking you, you get mad about it. It's because you're not better. Telling a woman that she'll be better off with just any of these men than being alone? There are worse things than being single. There are worse things than being alone. The worst thing is actually being with somebody that makes you feel alone. But here they are from the pulpit pushing on you. You know what? You better get somebody because you're getting older. So is he. And if he's worried about being older and being alone, then he better step it up. I'm not even a single woman, but it's exhausting to me the amount of people that don't believe that you can be single and be happy.
And there's only two demographics that believe that. Male-centered women and men. That's it. That's the only demographic of people who really do believe that if you are single and if you are alone, that means that you are unhappy and you are lonely. Because the women who aren't male-centered, the women who are out here on their goals, doing their thing, they're investing in their self-improvement, they're good. They're happy. They're good in their own company. They don't care.
They could believe that you could be a George Clooney and a Leonardo DiCaprio. You could be a bachelor in your 30s and 40s and 50s and nobody bats an eye. I bet he's having the time of his life. But if a woman does it, oh, I'm sure she's miserable. Not every woman is built for that. Not every woman wants that. But she's selfish if she doesn't choose that. Because her life is all supposed to be about service and servitude to some dusty man. They hear you, pastor, but they're not buying it. They're not going to let you convince them that they're not happy when they know that they are. They would much rather be single and selective and waiting until they find somebody that's worthy of their choice than just settle for anybody because the men out here are lonely. They're going to stay that way until they make themselves better choices.
Don't give a man a chance. If the man is not what you want, do not give him a chance. Quit saying, he makes money, but I mean, he is bald, he is fat. We got to stop doing that, ladies. We got to stop. Because every amount of room that you give a man that you are not 100% attracted to, you are letting him slack off in that area. Men are not letting you slack off in any fucking area. If you are not physically attractive to them, you are invisible. You are a nobody to them. They don't even know of your existence. So you mean to tell me that a species, a gender that is literally not going to give you a chance, you are going to sit here and give him a chance and look past all of these things and make all of these justifications for things that you really are not okay with just to say you have a man? Just because he was born with a penis? I mean, really, I don't think when especially male-centered women, I really do think that when they say a man, I have a man, it's the Disney man. It's the idea of the man that they have in their head, not the man that is in front of them. Because essentially all a man is just a specimen with a penis. There's really not much value or any value that they're going to add to your life. Quit looking past things to be with somebody, because they're not going to do it for you. The moment you get sick, they're not looking past you getting sick and staying with you. Because now, who's going to cook and clean? How is he going to have sex with you? Where's your beautiful hair going to, what about your beautiful hair? What about your body? What about your skin? That's all that man is going to be thinking. He's not going to look past that. He's going to leave. Men don't have the ability to look past things. They don't have enough emotional intelligence. They are not naturally nurturing. So they don't have the ability to look past all these things. So if they can't do it, why would you do it for them?
There's a woman on here that has 2 dogs and they are absolutely adorable. And she takes really good care of those dogs. Like, she bathes them, gives them these like spa treatment for the dogs. I'm talking about cooking steaks for the dogs. Like, the dogs eat better than some human beings. And it's just a single woman just taking care of those dogs who treats them like they're her children. The men in the comment section, the way that they are jealous of literal animals, the way that these puppies have these men, they're boxers in a bunch. It is insane. But they feel like all that effort is wasted. Like, because they want one of them to deserve all that effort. Why?
She's talking about the content creator on Instagram, Rain Pitstorm. So she has 2 dogs. She has Rain and then Snow. And like, she gives these dogs the royal treatment, okay? They have like beds. She throws a little heated blanket over. She has a little TV for them to watch. She gives them these like luxurious baths. She be dousing them in coconut oil. I literally just seen a video of hers. Someone posted it on Threads this was like maybe 2 weeks ago. The men were so pissed off. What's even funnier is that she's a lesbian. I don't know if she's either married to a woman or the woman is a girlfriend, but she is a lesbian. She's with a whole woman. So all the men were talking shit in the comments and they were like, well, that's why she has no man. And look at her wasting all of her time with the dog. And all of us were like, yeah, that's right. That's why she didn't have a man. Of course, that's why she doesn't have a man. She's with a woman.
Why isn't she making a steak for one of us? Why isn't she clipping our toenails? Why isn't she like, sir? Some of these men, they only think that women are here for their utility. You're only here to be in service to one of them. So if you're out here and you're not serving one of them, they feel like your life is being wasted. How dare you cook and clean and you're not doing it for one of us? Ciao.
It's honestly really pathetic. It is. It's honestly really pathetic. They really think that because they have a penis, we're supposed to just worship them. The royal penis is clean, Your Highness. That's what they think that we're supposed to do. That's what they think that our existence is tied to. And the men are getting mad because they're seeing us go on with our own wonderful lives, doing whatever we want to do. And even some women, let me tell you guys. So this is what's interesting. No patient demographic has asked me if I am married or have children. And very rarely, I don't have a lot of patients that are Black, let alone Black women that come in to see me. Both, I would say I've probably had about five Black patients that were women. 2 of them asked me if I was married and if I had children. And I said, no, I'm not married and I don't have any children. I did a patient today. She's 27 on her 3rd kid. She's 27 on her 3rd kid. I thought it was her mom that came with her. No, it's her boyfriend's mom. It's her boyfriend's mom. Oh my God, so you're not going to get married? No, I don't want to get married. I don't want to get married. You don't want to have any children? No, I don't want to have any children. And then this is what kills me. This is what kills me. I was like, no, like I live a life of my own. Like I like how my life is right now. And I really don't want to do anything to mess up the life that I have. Like, I mean, honestly, like having a child, getting married, I don't want to, I don't want to do any of that. And then one of them was like, but what if you meet the right person? And I'm like, is fat meat not greasy? I told you I don't want them. There is no if I meet the right person. My mind is made up. I want what I want. Point blank, period. So then the other woman today, this is what's crazy. The woman I had today, she goes from asking me if I have children and like if I'm gonna get married. And then she pretty much says, like, I was like, you're 27, the patient, I'm like, you're 27 and you're on your 3rd child. And she's like, yes. And she's like, I didn't want all of these children. I didn't want all of these children. And she's like, I had them because he wanted them. Mind you, the woman with her is the mother to her boyfriend or husband, whatever it is. And she was like, well, you shouldn't have had all of those children. She was like, well, then you shouldn't have had all those children. She didn't change her tune until I pretty much had said, because she was like, well, if you're going to have children, make sure you're married. And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything, because if we get divorced, who's going to take care of them? I have to be the one to take care of them. So it's not going to matter if I'm married or not. So she went from questioning me to now getting on her either stepdaughter or whatever, daughter-in-law, or just the girlfriend. I don't know if they were married or not. And she went from that to just getting on her, pretty much saying like, why did you have so many children? Like you like, and I'm like, and this is what's funny. When I had said, I was like, yeah, I'm like, if the man leaves you, then you're going to be stuck with the children anyway. She says, well, my baby isn't going to do that. My son isn't going to do that. I just stayed quiet. Anon, thank you for the super chat. Thanks for streaming. Good show. Thank you. Appreciate it. Someone asked the question. Queen, do you think men are going to continue to get angrier? What will be the outcome for all of this? You should go watch the video that I did on the mice experiment that Calhoun did. That will definitely give you a deeper insight on what the trajectory is in the future for women. The thing about it is that women have control over what happens. Women have full control over what happens. The whole point of me creating this space is to have us be less divisive. This is the reason why I will come after the pick me women. I will hold women accountable for being male centered, because if women are actually able to come together, we really won't have to meet the end of times when it comes to our rights, our freedom, our ability to be able to make choices in our life that we have been so afforded to do. I think a lot of women just, the issue is that women haven't done history, and women just completely gloss over the fact that we've only had rights for about 60 years. We have not had rights all of that long. And so essentially, you know, rights can be taken away, and they're slowly taken away. I knew we were cooked. I knew we were cooked when the woman, the woman that was asking me all those questions today, she was not aware of what was going on. She pretty much was saying like, oh yeah, like she was saying the opposite. So like we all know that the birth rate is declining. The birth rate is declining. She was pretty much trying to state facts as if the opposite was happening. She was like, oh yeah, she was like, everyone is having all of these kids and the government doesn't want to take care of the children. And I'm like, well, the government's never wanted to take care of the children. First of all, that is incentivized 100%, and we are paying to take care of people's children. Number one, I said, the thing about it is that no, I said the birth rate is declining. They're freaking out. And I was like, yeah, I was like, here in the state of Florida, you after 6 weeks, that's it. The baby is yours. There's nothing you can do about it. You're gonna have to shell out money. And someone actually sent me, this is another thing with the religion thing. You know, this is when it comes to, you know, pro-choice and pro-life and, you know, things like that. This is the reason why they have it so tied closely to religion, because they want you to feel a sense of shame, and they want you to see it as though, you know, you are pretty much committing a sin by choosing to go that route, essentially. And I said, no, I said, actually, the birth rate is declining. You can tell that this has been an issue because Roe versus Wade, they ended up getting rid of that, and now they have it completely decided by the state. Texas, listen to this. This is how much critical thinking you have to have for you to understand when something is being done in your favor and when it's not being done in your favor. Texas just passed a law saying that when from conception, when a woman is pregnant, from conception, child support payments would start. So they're going to take the first day of your last menstrual period, and then I think they said 2 weeks after that is when they are going to try to start going for like retroactive pay for child support. And so a lot of people will sit here and think like, oh, well, that's a good thing. It will hold the men accountable. Now, why would they need to know the first day of your last menstrual period to be able to pay you money? Why would they want that started? And mind you, Texas is a state where it's completely outlawed. You cannot terminate. They want that information to be able to track you, to see if you're going to go to another state. They're doing it. They're trying to do it in Indiana. They're pretty much trying to say that they'll make it public record if a woman decides to Sean abort. I'll just say it backward. Yeah, if a woman decides to Sean abort, they're going to make it public record, as if HIPAA is not a thing. But yeah, that is another thing when it comes to religion, how they are essentially trying to use religion to keep you stuck with a child that you don't want. And this is the reason why. And the thing about it is that, ladies, this is not just for women that are single. This is for women that are married, even more so, especially if you are in child. So here's the thing. They're not doing anything for these women that are miscarrying. And that is a large issue. They don't care. they are not making exceptions to the rule when it comes to these things. They're making zero exceptions. There was a nurse, Queen is the prettiest in the world. Thank you. They're making no exception. There was a nurse that literally passed away a couple weeks ago. I believe she was in Texas because she had miscarried, and there was nothing they could do about it. I think she ended up bleeding out, or she had infection or something like that. And Texas is like, not our problem. Not our problem. So you need to be really careful when it comes to what you're doing and what state you're in when it comes to your reproductive things. I don't believe religion is the problem, but how people twist the truth. Religion is 100% the problem. Once you actually look deep into religion and you look at when you look at life, you read about life before religion. I'm talking in the Neolithic times. You will understand that religion came from a very nefarious place. Religion was essentially created because men were jealous of women. So men have womb envy. Men are very jealous of the fact that women can give life. And so this is the reason why men are going to weaponize it against you. So this is why they will try to R-word you. This is the reason why they will try to do all of these things and put you in a bind and also leave you as a single mother. Men are very jealous of the fact that women can give life. And so what essentially the men did was, men also are jealous of the fact that women have life force energy. They are very closely connected with the divine feminine, where we have a lot of intuitive. We have a high amount of intuition. We are very creative. We can practice alchemy. That's the reason why they got rid of all of the witches, because there is just. That's why I said women don't need a Bible. We don't need a Bible. The spirit lives within us. We don't need a guide on how to live our life. Only men need that, because under natural causes, men are very dangerous. Men are very disheveled. Men are very uncivilized. And so essentially, men were so jealous that what they did was they ravaged, because it used to be a matriarchy. It used to be a matriarchy. Women would do their own thing together. They would raise their children in a community of women. They would be very selective on what man they would choose. And listen, a man's genes were so sacred back in Neolithic times, before religion became a thing. A man would sacrifice his life to be able to pass on his genes. The goddess would pick him. She would sleep with him. They would do the deed, and he would give her a baby, and then they would kill him after. That is how sacred it used to be. And for these men to be able to pass on their gene, that's how big of a deal it was back then. And men got very jealous. The Indo-Europeans got very jealous. So they came in, they killed all the women, they killed all the children, they took over everything. And then they decided that they were going to create the Bible, and they were going to flip everything, do 180. And so it was to the point, it was so bad. It was so bad that what would happen was that they made it very, they pretty much gave any excuse in the book to demonize women. So if a woman was R-worded, a man would have to divorce her. And literally them being able to get divorced, all they had to do was write it on a piece of paper. And they demonized you if you were single. You pretty much had to be married in order for you to have survival. And so that is where all of that ended up starting and where it originated from. The more you know history and the further back you go, you will start questioning things. The issue is that a lot of people don't want to pick up a book. A lot of people don't want to gain any knowledge on what they're saying, on what they're doing, on where it's coming from. The very same thing you want is what the government is now trying to use against you. If you are a married woman, there are women who were begging to get their last name changed because they wanted to be validated by being married. Well, now it's going to be a lot harder for you. You're not going to be able to vote if you don't get your last name to match your birth certificate as it does on your driver's license. Because with the SAVE Act, they're requiring it to match. Essentially, they're trying to set the precedence to say that if you're a woman that is married, your vote will not count. Your husband's vote will get to count only, which is how it used to be. Women used to not be able to vote. So the very same things that a lot of women have been begging for is going to be the very same thing that ends up biting them in the ass. And then they're going to look around and be like, oh my God, what has just happened? Aw, thank you for not skipping the ads. I appreciate it. I've heard some type of statistic that in some point in time, like only one man reproduced for every 17 women. Men were brought into existence because instead of holding all genetics within us, we gave them all the weaker genes, hence why men are only good for having children. Men are just a fraction of a woman. Exactly. Exactly. So I just feel as though it's very important for women to understand what is happening and to really take heed of just being aware of what is happening. That way you can make conscious decisions. Listen, as a woman, the last thing you should be caring about is getting married or having children. That is the last of you should be doing the complete opposite of that. And they're not. Men are not supposed to live with us. Men are not supposed to be living with our children. No. All of the women should be in community together and we raise the child together. Lions make the male lions fight to the death to mate. Female praying mantises bite the heads off the male after mating. Matriarchies in nature are far more natural. Patriarchy is so forced. Exactly. This is why I say, when you pay attention, under the patriarchy, only men are allowed to be animals. Women cannot be animals. When it comes to men, their urges, their lack of control, their rage, their anger, that is them being animals, and they are allowed to be animals. But when it comes to us being animals and trying to pick the right mate, because men claim that we should care about society, picking the best mate would then be the best thing for society. Not just a mate, the best, the strongest genes. That is what is best for society, but we're not allowed to be animals when it comes to that. We're not allowed to be animals by making men perform and prove to us and show us that they are worthy. They don't want to do that because in their mind, they think, oh, well, I have a penis and I don't have to do anything. I was born with a penis, so I have a gold rod. I have a gold rod attached to me. So you should be showing me. Like even today, there were two men that came in the back for an exam. It was like more of an intimate exam. Their girlfriends or wife, whatever they are to them, came in the back. And one of the girlfriends was like, these men are such babies, ha 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 ha, and was just laughing about it. And I'm just like, see, this is the problem. This is the problem with society. This is the problem with women. Men are going to always be babies because you keep joking about them being babies while you baby them. She's like, oh yeah, how long is it going to take for the results to come? Because I'm making his chart. I'm filling everything out for him and like getting his chart together. And I'm just like, so you come in the back, you're his comfort, you're his support animal. And then now you're making all of these, and now you're creating all of these things for him to make his life easier. Like, no, none of that shit is funny to me. None of that shit is cute to me. None of that shit is attractive to me. Nothing is more unattractive to me than a man like not being able to be self-sufficient and like and even expecting me to do stuff like that for him. Like, why? I would never think to ask a man to do any of those things. It just makes no sense. Makes zero sense to me.
Okay, I'm not letting this one slide. If you're a young woman in this country trying to date a young man and you think this headline that for the first time in a long time that there are more religious young men than women does not apply to you or have political ramifications, let's sit down. If you've been around here long enough, you've probably guessed that I like to look at the politics of fashion, the politics of dating, and as a Christian who has fought very hard to find a place in the faith as a Black woman and as a woman specifically, it doesn't matter if you're Christian or not Christian, what is happening inside church communities, and especially one of the most politically significant groups of people who get to determine what women do with their lives, their time, and their bodies, this matters, especially for the future. There's been this idea that as time passes and we get older and people grow up, that these old-fashioned, really repressive ideas about, using God and the church to treat women badly or Black people badly, it's just going to die off. It's not. It's not going to die off because what a lot of these Southern Baptist churches have to offer young men right now is a sense of safety, superiority, and security in a shifting America.
Always remember that when men are feeling like they're losing power, they have to flock to some type of organization. They're usually going to flock to religion because that is the one thing that is their allowance to subjugate women. That is the one thing that reminds them that they're superior. Because whenever men go out into the real world, they see that they're not superior. They see that they don't have any value. And so when they go to church, they are told that they are superior because they're a man, they're better. So always remember that.
It's obvious that things are changing. There used to be a time where the ideal American and the person who had all this power, all this social power, all this political power, and was the default norm was somebody who could be identified as a young white man. In fact, that often wasn't even an identity these people had to think about. It's only been recently that young men are aware of the fact that they, as men, have inherited a society that has these gendered privileges and these assumptions and these biases that have worked in their favor. Of course, they don't think that these biases are, really working in their favor now simply because they are being criticized or critiqued or challenged. There is always a time in history when a people group that has been other or has been dehumanized or has been made less than the reigning dominant person, once they start to step into their power and they start to step into their time, their space, and their energy, agency, and the society actually starts to affirm and validate that, even if it's kicking and screaming, the original dominant group feels fear, or they feel insecure, or this is not the world that they were raised for or trained for. It's an obvious thing that many of you have seen in dating, where these men were raised by men and women who put up with a lot of nonsense from other men. This weekend, I watched the documentary For Our Daughters, which profiles, I think, about 6 of some of the foremost women that are speaking up and out about the Southern Baptist Church and the evangelical cultures that perpetuate and protect abusers.
Listen, I grew up Catholic. We all know what happens in those Catholic churches. A lot of Catholics, especially Catholic men, a lot of them are PDF files. A lot of them have an attraction to children. It was never a coincidence to me that, like, if you had to go to any like Christian school or Catholic school or anything like that, they would always have you wear skirts. And I mean, you have to think, they literally exploited and sexualized the schoolgirl. Like, You literally could watch corn and that be a genre, the schoolgirl. So that should already tell you schoolgirl and wearing the skirt and the plaid and things like that. They essentially have those girls dressed just like how you were dressed when you went to Catholic school or Christian school or anything like that. Because that's what they like. A lot of men that are in the church, they literally go in the church for that reason because they want to be predatory on young children.
Then lead to groups of people who can then defend and elect abusers into high places of power in the American democracy. This documentary also connected, and this is what I wrote in my Substack today, which is linked in my bio, that some of these fringe ideas that limit women's autonomy and limit women's humanity, or even their access to democracy and political power, they've been considered very separate from these normal churches. But in all actuality, their theology ties them together. And many of these churches, even though they won't say it out loud, will depend on these so-called fringe people and fringe movements to actually create the kind of world and politics that they will approve of. So they might not say anything, they may not be marching, they might not be protesting, but when those other places put those candidates in place, or they put policy and theology in place, all these churches and the men that they are raising up will support it. There's so much to say on this, but the main key thing that I want you to take away is that there's an idea in church communities like this, I grew up with it too, where if you're outside of God's design or plan for humanity and something bad happens to you, or your freedoms are limited, or somebody hurts you or abuses you, it's your fault. Once you step out of living in a way that these people approve of, anything that happens to you is fair game, and they owe you nothing. What this means is that there are generations of these men that get raised up who believe that respect and dignity is only given to certain kinds of women. And what they do to women outside of their communities is another matter. And it's not something to prosecute, and it's not something to hold them accountable for. I'm in a Christian faith tradition that adheres very closely to what Jesus's actions were, how they were revolutionary, and how he treated and dignified women. And I have this wealth of history from Black women who have done the kinds of theology and thinking and intellectual work that have made our tradition more inclusive and stronger, and what I believe is definitely closer to the heart of God. That said, there are enough men who will not do that work and will not actually respect any of that as Christian or as legitimate, and will happily take any theology that puts them in supreme leadership over women. One thing that's becoming clear is just being very open about that does not really work out for them very.
They're never going to tell you, oh yeah, so the reason why I'm religious and the reason why I am so forward about me being religious is because essentially I want to feel better about myself. I'm very insecure. I don't like the fact that I'm a man. And so when I go to church, I feel like a man. I feel worshiped. I feel honored. And I feel as though this is a good way for me to pump up my self-esteem, because essentially I get to punch down and I get to be in superiority when it comes to women. When women are asking for a religious man, that is what they're asking for. They're asking to be with a man who is very insecure, a man who is very much self-hating, and a man who pretty much wants to be with a woman whose validation comes from a man. That way he can punch down and he can dominate over her and control her in order to feel superior, because out in the real world, he does not feel superior. Out in the real world, he has no power. He is an average man. He is overlooked. No one is complimenting him. No one is asking about his day. He is essentially invisible, and he no longer wants to be invisible.
Well, so there are people who will kind of keep low. They'll hide that. They'll say that it's fine to have an equal relationship when you guys are girlfriend and boyfriend. But the second you become husband and wife, that changes. If young people, young men especially, are finding communities that hold them accountable, that make them realize and are connected to a God that connects them to all other beings and creatures, or they are in a situation where they are being asked to grow and mature spiritually, emotionally, and socially, that's a great thing. But what I fear is that a church group like the Southern Baptist Convention and all that denomination, lots of evangelical places, is what the documentary that we looked at this week has shown, which is anytime there's a moment to actually hold men accountable for their actions, we hide, we get rid of the women, we, push the woman down, or we just shuffle people around. That's something that's of concern. One of the things that annoys me the most is this idea that just because something is Christian, or I'm a Christian, or, when people get into church, like, oh, I'm a Christian, I can't be racist, I can't be sexist, I can't be this because I follow Jesus and God is good, is that this shuts down any self-reflection. It shuts down the critical thinking. It shuts down the ways you could look and say, how has colonialism or any of these forms of prejudices tainted my understanding of the scriptures and my relationship to God and other people? Since most of these communities have not done that work, I don't think that they're suddenly doing it now. So what I'm saying is we, the people out in the wild, the people who still have the right to vote, who still can move around, who still can do things, need to take it very seriously when Christian churches and people leading these boys and people influencing these boys say things like, in a great American democracy, women wouldn't have the right to vote.
So just how we heard that guy earlier that was literally saying that, oh yeah, these women, they're 50, they're unhappy, they're choosing not to be in the inconvenience of marriage, and this is why they have STDs, this is why they have this is why they have that, etc., etc. There are literally men going to church and they're hearing this. It's essentially the same as the red pill, honestly. They're pretty much taking in the same type of information as the red pill. Christianity, religion, whatever, religion is created off of a hierarchy. So this is the reason why, religious men have a large problem with the LGBTQ community. Well, because it's another sector that they can oppress. It's another sector that they can feel more superior than, that they feel like they have a leg up on. And so that's the reason why they're always going to have a great disdain and state their great disdain for these different types of sectors.
In an ideal American situation, women would always one-way submit to their husbands. In a great American situation, women would go back to being used for what they were made for, which is outbreeding other religious groups. When people show you who they are and what they do and who they will hurt and sell out the first time, believe them. In the documentary For Our Daughters, one of the things that becomes really clear is that these people, these kind of political movements, these kind of social movements require our silence. They require our compliance, and they require us at all. They need our bodies and they need our time to achieve the domination that they want to achieve. Do not provide it to them. Do not provide it to them easily either. That's not to say if you've been victimized, it's your fault. It's never your fault. But we can make this harder for future generations to do the same kind of harm. I hope and pray for the kind of emotional, spiritual, and communal relationship that is actually a blessing to these men and other people and the people that are around them and the women that are around them. I trust God, I just don't trust man. If you've read this article, I'd be interested in what you had to think about it. I'm going to read it in more depth now that I've also watched the documentary. And if you haven't read the book, John Wayne, Jesus, oh my gosh, I just messed up the title. Hold on, I'm going to get it right. Jesus and John Wayne, How White Evangelicals Corrupted a Faith and Fractured a Nation by Kristen Kobes-Dumetz. I believe the faith has to offer a lot more than this, and what God can invite us to in terms of fellowship and love and understanding and respect for each other. It's a beautiful thing, and it's a lot better than what a lot of these other communities in the past have offered under the guise of godliness when they're really just looking for more power. So let us keep our eyes open. If you have a chance to watch that documentary For Our Daughters, it is online now at forourdaughtersfilm.com. It was done by the Emmy award-winning filmmaker Carl Biker. Can you tell this fires me up? I have lost my ability to speak. But anyways, take care. I will see you live tomorrow to talk about the documentary, and take care.
So, that damn, I have to sign up to be able to, look at that article. I actually do have an account with New York Times. Hold on. Oh my God, it actually works. It actually works. Get out of here. I can't believe that it still works. We're going to go over that, we're going to go over that article really quick because I haven't read it. And I think it would be nice for us to read together, to be honest. If you meet a man who says he's part of a religion and he's tolerable, it's because he's not religious and he barely practices said religion. Oh, 100%. The thing about it is this: women give men way too much credit for just for saying that they're religious. We got to do better than that. Okay? Him quoting scriptures don't mean that he's religious. That just means he knows how to read. That just means he knows how to memorize. That's what that means. That just because he goes to church every Sunday, okay, that means that he can arrive timely at a place. That's what that means. We will take the simplest of things. We will take the simplest of things that men do and then put it on this crazy high pedestal and be impressed. Like, oh yeah, girl, he goes to church every Sunday. Okay. He goes to the bar every Saturday. He goes on the corn site every night. Exactly. Women want a religious man because they think it gives him morals and will keep him loyal. What women don't realize about male nature is that the nature of a male is way too deviant for men to easily be able to have morals. Once again, women think that men are like women. Women think that it's just as easy for men to do this like it is for women. It's not. They have a Y chromosome that is way smaller. They've been societally conditioned to pretty much have a servant all the time. The man is not created to be this hardworking person. They're extremely lazy. If capitalism didn't exist, these men wouldn't be doing anything. They barely want to wipe their asses. Like, they barely want to wipe their asses, let alone use church as a way, you use a religion as a way to be able to improve. They don't want to improve. They just don't want to. They just want to wear a mask to make you feel comfortable and to make you trust them and to make you have it in your mind that they are these wonderful, great people that they really are not. And then before you know it, you're like, oh shit, who is this person that I married? I thought that this man was this great, God-fearing, loving, loyal man. That's not who they are. Point blank, period. That's not who they are. All right, so we're going to take a look at this article because I have it pulled up now. Yay. I am so passionate about this. I grew up in religious cult, was a victim of purity culture and male abuse because I didn't serve him food from the pot. I wasn't submissive according to the word. I am so glad that you got yourself removed from that and that you're no longer a part of that. And I'm very, very sorry that you had to go through what you had to go through because that's always traumatic. I remember when I was in school for X-ray. And there was a woman who I did clinicals with. She was in the grade below me, and she was older than me. I think I was like 25 at the time, and she had to have been in her 40s. And I remember her, she was really struggling mentally because she had a very bad marriage. And the way that she got in the marriage was essentially the man that married her was a part of a cult. And so obviously through conditioning and through manipulation, she had joined the cult and it was just a lot of like things, a lot of manipulation, a lot of abuse and things like that she was undergoing. I am so happy. She ended up getting a divorce. She was going through a divorce not too long after I was in clinical with her. But I seen it with my own eyes how religion, cults, purity culture, and things like that. Um, it's it's just very detrimental to the feminine. It's not good for the feminine. The feminine thrives in freedom. The feminine does not do well with shackles, with chains. Like literally, just think about this. A rose can grow out of concrete. Uh, there is grass that can grow on houses. There's greenery that can literally grow between bricks. All of that is feminine. So that just goes to tell you the feminine is always going to be free. The feminine is always going to crack through something that is physical, that is man-made, because concrete is man-made. Concrete is not a product of the feminine. If the feminine can break through fucking man-made concrete, that should be enough symbolism for you to understand it's not natural you cannot cage the feminine. You cannot. She's going to emerge everywhere. There's only so much shackling you can do before it's too much. We don't do well in that type of environment. We don't. This is why I'm always going to tell women that you need to pay attention to your body. You really do need to speak to yourself and speak to your body when you feel as though something is wrong. You feel as though something is off. You feel as though you are not comfortable. All right, so let's get into this article. I'm going to make it big. Okay, in a first among Christians, young men are more religious than young women. At Grace Church in Waco, Texas, the Generation Z gender divide can be seen in the pews. It has the potential to reshape both politics and family life. I'm sorry, but like, none of these people look attractive. I hope they find each other in the church. Anyway, on a beautiful Sunday morning in early September, dozens of young men in Waco, Texas started their day at Grace Church. Men greeted visitors at the door, manned the information table, and handed out bulletins. 4 of the 5 musicians on stage were men. So was the pastor who delivered the sermon, and most of the college students packing the first few rows. I'm so grateful for this church, Ryan, 28, told the congregation before Buck Rogers baptized him in a tank of water in the sanctuary. Now, y'all, don't be getting fooled now. Don't be getting fooled by these men, because these men love to perform on the social media. They love to perform on the social media. These men will put it on their story real quick that they got baptized. They'll put it on their Instagram that they got baptized, trying to plant seeds in your mind that he's this great God-fearing man. All right, so Grace Church, a Southern Baptist congregation, has not made a conscious effort to attract young men. It is an unremarkable size and in many ways an ordinary evangelical church. Yet its leaders have noticed for several years now that young men outnumber young women in their pews. When the church opened a small outpost in the nearby town of Robinson last year, 12 of the 16 young people regularly attending were men. AKA, women are fucking realizing that religion is a scam. Okay, women are realizing that it doesn't pay off. It doesn't mean anything to be religious. There is no point in being in the church. As a woman, you have everything to lose. You have everything to lose and nothing to gain by being in the fucking church. It's a waste of time. You're being in the church, you're pretty much asking to be a slave. Dealing with a religious man, you're pretty much signing up to be a slave. That's where religion came from. It came from the oppression and the slavery of women. Marriage was the first form of slavery. But of course, they weren't going to do it like how they, enslaved people, black people, because they're not going to they can't kill the same individuals that has to birth people. So they had to do it in a more omnious way. We've been talking about it from the beginning. What's the Lord doing? Why is he sending us all these young men? It's like, child, it ain't the Lord. It ain't the fucking Lord. It's the red pill that's sending them. It's the men, they're not working, that's sending them. It's the men, their low self-esteem, that's sending them. The Lord is not sending them anything. These are just low life, subpar genetic men trying to leech onto something, grasp onto something for a sense of identity and acceptance and relatability and getting a sense of superiority because they don't have it in their real life. Like I'm sorry, no wonder they're in the church. No wonder they're in the church. Like, look at this. Just look, it's Pearl right there. Y'all see Pearl? Y'all see Pearl on the right side? Pearl up there like, yep, and women shouldn't need to vote. Women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Y'all see Pearl up there? Y'all see the dynamics at how long is this? Oh my God, this is long. I'm just trying to make sure because I got the live stream on the other channel. All right. So I'm obviously going to go through this as much as I can because we got the live stream on the spiritual channel at 8. All right. So the dynamics at Grace are a dramatic example of an emerging truth. For the first time in modern history, yes, there are young men are now more religious than their female peers. They attend services more often. Yes. We've seen it. We've never seen it before. Among Gen Z Christians, the dynamic is playing out in a stark way. The men are staying in church while the women are leaving at a remarkable clip. Church membership has been dropping in the United States for years, but within Gen Z, almost 40% of women now describe themselves as religiously unaffiliated, compared with 34% of men, according to a survey last year. The Gen Z girls understand what the fuck is going on. The Gen Z girls are like, no, fuck this shit. I'm not dealing with it. Like, the Gen Z girls want to travel. The Gen Z girls want to go eat at nice restaurants. The Gen Z girls are out here trying to live their best life. Like, that means that us millennials, millennial, what is it? Gen X, that means that that means that we're leading the way. That means that we're teaching these girls what they need to be taught. In every other age group, men were more likely to be unaffiliated. That tracks with the research that has shown that women have been consistently more religious than men, a finding so reliable that some scholars have characterized it as something like a universal human truth. I feel like that's important. So they're saying that all the other generations prior to Gen Z, it's been more women that have went to church than it has been men. And you also have to realize we've been conditioned to be male-centered longer. Gen Z, it was a gift and a curse, because essentially Gen Z got born with a phone. They pretty much got born with the phone in their hand. So they had a lot more access to married women telling their story, more truth being exposed. They have had a lot less gatekeeping than the previous generations have had, which means that Gen Z is able to make more informed decisions. The women are able to make more informed decisions because essentially everyone, I mean, come on TikTok, you can't help but to see stories of women talking about cheating scandals and things like that. The men and women of Gen Z are on a divergent trajectories in almost every facet of their lives, including education, sexuality, and spirituality. Young women are still spiritual and seeking, according to surveys of religious life. But they came of age as the Me Too movement opened a national conversation about SH and gender-based abuse, which inspired widespread exposures of abuse in church settings under the hashtag #ChurchToo. The overturning of Roe v. Wade in 2022 compelled many of them to begin paying closer attention to their reproductive rights, which is what we just talked about earlier. Now get this. Young men have different concerns. They are less educated than their female peers. In major cities, including New York and Washington, they earn less. So shout out to my girls in New York and Washington out earning these men. At the same time, they place a higher value on traditional family life, aka you being a fucking slave. Whenever a man tells you that he wants a woman that is traditional, he is looking for a traditional woman, he is pretty much telling you he wants a slave. He wants power over you. He wants control over you. That is what that means. At the same, childless young men are likelier than childless young women to say they want to become parents someday by a margin of 12 percentage points. The young men at Grace and Hope churches are looking for leadership. They're looking for clarity. They're looking for meaning. Of course, childless young men are likelier than childless young women to want children and be parents because they don't have to raise the goddamn child. That's why they want a traditional family. They want to be out the house while you're stuck in the house. Just look at this. I'm sorry, all of these folks just gotta look. They gotta look. There are guys that are just hungry for control, hungry for power, hungry for dominance. They are not hungry for anything that is actually conducive to the well-being of other people, i.e., women. This growing gender divide has the potential to reshape the landscape of not just religion, but also of family life and politics. In a Time Siena poll of 6 swing states in August, young men favored former The Orange Man by 13 points. And of course, the women wanted Kamala. We already know that. Let's go. Okay. Kitron Ferrier is a senior at Baylor University in Waco, from which Grace Church draws a sizable portion of its young attendees. Baylor, a Christian school with Baptist roots, is the kind of place where the school newspaper runs a feature for new students in headline Church Shopping. Okay, so he attends 2 services, most on Sunday. He was raised in a large Christian family, and he went on a church trip and he ran into an influencer he follows on Instagram who for several years has carried a large wooden cross across the country. Ciao. As if that means anything. People are just so ridiculous. Oh yeah, this man, he had a whole wooden cross that he took with him across the country. What the fuck? Following Jesus is difficult. It's about denying yourself and denying the lust of the flesh. He appreciates a church like Hope where leaders are frank about the intensity of self-sacrifice he sees as a requirement for the Christian faith. This is the reason why this is the reason why as women you cannot get on the board with religion, because religion is 100% self-sacrificial. Men think that they're sacrificing themselves because the Bible tells them that they shouldn't put their dick in other people. Meanwhile, the Bible is teaching you that you should be ripping open your vagina as many times as possible, be fruitful and multiply, having this man's child, as many times as he wants. You know, you're sacrificing your sanity, raising a ton of kids, cooking, cleaning, having to be submissive, self-sacrificial, my ass. Like, really? Young men are attracted to harder truth. Sometimes, he added, he wants to hear messages with a little wrath of God in them. That sounds like that guy might be abusive. I'm sorry. Any man that says he wants to hear messages with the wrath of God, I wouldn't want to be near. These kids look like they're gonna fucking these kids look like they're gonna go into a school and wreak havoc, okay? It's gonna be shell casings everywhere. It's gonna be shell casings everywhere with these men. Look at the hairline. Look at the hairline. The hairline is running just as fast as he's running to Jesus Christ. This is crazy. Look at the booty on this one. He got more booty than I do. No wonder why they're flocking to church. They don't want to be seen out in public. For decades, many American churches and ministries have assumed that men like Mr. Ferrier must be wooed into church going and right living. Publishers promoted books like Why Men Hate Going to Church and No Man Left Behind, which assume that many men are reluctant Christians at best and that their wives and children will follow them to church. Religion is coded right and coded more traditionalist for young people. For some young men he counsels, Christianity is perceived as one institution that isn't initially informally skeptical of them as a class. Yes, the fuck it is. We're telling them you are meant to live a meaningful life. I'm hollering. The camaraderie was easy to see after the Sunday service at Grace this month. A circle of young men lingered in the sanctuary, talking and laughing. Oh my God. Arguments in other Christian institutions about women's roles have been raging for decades. Some churches have cracked down in recent years on practices like women speaking from the pulpit. The theology of complementarianism, which asserts that men and women have some separate roles in marriage and church leadership, is resurgent. And many of these same churches are beginning to speak more openly about their conservative political convictions. Young women, it seems, are moving past the debates and out the church doors. About 2/3 of women ages 18 to 29 say that most churches or religious congregations do not treat men and women equally. Exactly. You hear that? 2/3. 2 fucking 3 of women age 18 to 29 are clocking religion and clocking how it's absolute fucking bullshit in that it does not benefit women in any way. Young women are asking more questions than their forebears, says Allison Barr, an historian at Baylor. Her book, The Making of Biblical Womanhood, How the Subjugation of Women Became Gospel Truth. Oh, wow, that's a book I have to check out. It was a surprise bestseller in 2021, sparking widespread conversations in conservative evangelical circles. The complementarian turn has really reduced the visibility of women in the church. This generation is definitely more aware of that lack of women in leadership. Exactly. Opening more officials' roles to women, though, may not win them back. Many of the largest liberal denominations that ordain women are in steep decline. Well, yeah, no shit. They're probably getting shamed out of the church. They're probably getting abused. They're probably getting essayed. Like, come on. You're not going to be able to have a woman in the forefront of something that is dominated by men and she's not going to have to pay some type of price. Like, that's just not how that shit goes. As an undergraduate at Baylor, she attended a large evangelical church where she felt welcome and happy, but she grew disturbed over the church's treatment of women. Once a heated discussion broke out over whether women should ask men out on dates. Afterward, some women gathered in Miss Rutt's room and lamented the church lack of female pastors to teach on such topics. Okay, why is that being discussed in the church? Like, where in the Bible does it say that women have to approach men? Like, where the fuck does it say that? She left that church earlier this year and now attends a church where the pastor talks about poverty, racism, sexism, and attacks them head on. I thought it was my mind wanting to rebel for the longest time, but now I think it wasn't rebellion. It was God saying, this is truth. This is how I made women. Once again, Becca Clark is a graduate student at Baylor. She became more attuned to issues related to gender and sexuality. And she said, I can't go to a place of worship and know that the person next to me thinks that gay people are going to burn in hell. Exactly. I still believe in God and Jesus and all that. I just struggle to call myself a Christian. Yeah, I feel as though women that are very much still I guess you could say religious, like they believe. I think this is where, like, I feel like this is the middle line before women are just like complete atheists and are like, fuck this shit altogether. Oh, I was right. So in surveys, women like Miss Clark are common. They still score higher than men on measures of spirituality and attachment to God, suggesting that they are not necessarily abandoning their internal beliefs. Exactly. Oh, well, that was it. All right, cool. I skipped. Yeah, I pretty much. Yeah. So you guys get the you guys get the point. In short, the women are saying, fuck the goddamn church. We're not doing this anymore. We've seen long enough how this looks. We've done this dance before. Yeah, we're not gonna do this. All right, so I got one more video here, and then after that, we're closing out. We're gonna live stream on the other channel, my spiritual channel.
Men that are super religious are super lustful and high-key demonic. I feel like without the God or the Bible or whatever they serve, without that, they would be such terrifying people to exist in society. These men are suffering inside like so much because they have all these lustful ideas and ideations of women and they just don't know what to do with it. But because they have, I'll use Christianity because I grew up in a Christian religion and I literally just got out of a relationship with this super Christian man of God, heavy on the air quotes, and he was just so lustful, so controlling, so manipulative, so abusive, so everything. And it was just so interesting to like witness it happen in front of me because I'm like, you really think you are following God and Jesus? Like, you really think you're doing what Jesus would want you to do? And it's so insane that the disconnect, the dissonance, and they're suffering inside because they know to some degree it doesn't make sense for them to have this yearning, this lustful energy, right? They know it's there and they want to exercise, but this book is telling them they can't do it. And something about that they don't agree with. But because they're so brainwashed in the religion, they just force themselves to pretend that they're not lustful demons. Literally, they're lustful demons cosplaying as men of God. And it's,
If a man can't admit to you that if he's lustful, I don't mean like flirt or make passes at you. I mean, if a man cannot sit here and say, yes, I'm lustful. Yes, I think about sex often. Yes, sex is constantly going through my head. If a man cannot admit that, men do cheat, men do want to do whatever it is that they want to do to women, you're wasting your time. Honestly, you are wasting your time.
terrifying. Stay safe out there. Stay safe out in these streets, ladies. If he is religious and his actions are not matching what he says he's supposed to be, if he's not practicing what he's preaching, you need to run. Pack your bags right now. I need you to get up out there, please, sister, please.
All right. Well, that is it for today. my lovely sovereign sisters. I hope you all enjoyed this live stream. I know I did. And just like she said, y'all, stay safe out there. Keep your head on the swivel. Keep clocking what you need to clock when it comes to the tactics that these men are using to be able to have access to you. Keep your standards high. Be picky. Be smart. Use your brain. And I'll be over on the other channel talking about root work. I kind of gave like a little sampler of like what that is going to look like through the short that I did here today, talking about how men use root work on you. And yeah, if you are following me on the other channel, I'll see you on the other channel. If I'm just seeing you on here, well then I will see you next time on here. Bye.